Hi everyone! This is number 35 in the Queen 50 series, and the title of this one is I Want to Break Free. Well, let's just start right in and read what there is to learn about it. I Want to Break Free was written by John Deacon. Ah, okay, the bassist, the one who wrote You're My Best Friend, right? Isn't he the quiet one that kind of stays out of the limelight? Well, this is going to be interesting. After its release in 1984, the song was well received in Europe and South America and is regarded as an anthem of the fight against oppression. The single reached only number 45 on the US Billboard Hot 100, but reached number 3 in the UK and was certified double platinum with over 1,200,000 copies sold. It also topped the charts of Austria, Belgium, and the Netherlands. The song is largely known for its music video, for which all the band members dressed in drag, a concept proposed by drummer Roger Taylor, which parodied the long-running ITV soap opera Coronation Street. The second part of the video included a composition rehearsed and performed with the Royal Ballet and choreographed by Wayne Eagling, whereas the parody was acclaimed in the United Kingdom, where cross-dressing is a popular trope in British comedy. It caused controversy in the United States. I wonder if that's one of the reasons it didn't go so high in the charts, perhaps, because, yeah, cross-dressing here in the US is something that a lot of people can't really handle, even today. But that's interesting. It's such a different reception in both countries. Well, I don't know Coronation Street, but just this little description kind of gives me some ideas. And this, the second part of the video, included a composition rehearsed and performed with the Royal Ballet and choreographed by Wayne Eagling. What composition was that? I guess I need to go watch that video and see the rest of it. So, I have to do that on my own time. Today, let's do I Want to Break Free, the music.
I want to break free. I want to break free. I want to break free from your lies. You're so self-satisfied. I don't need you. I've got to break free. God knows I want to break free. I've fallen in love. I've fallen in love for the first time. This time I know it's for real. I've fallen in love. Yeah. God knows I've fallen in love.
Such a different sound. It feels even more strikingly different than the other two from this album that I've listened to. I guess Radio Gaga was the opening one, and then It's a Hard Life. And yes, those were different. I could hear, but this, it's a couple things. It's even the sound of the vocal chorus is different. But a lot of it has to do with the harmonic scheme. This is, it doesn't have the same panache that harmonically that I've come to expect from Queen. I'm beginning to feel more like I understand why so many of the Queen fans were not thrilled about their new musical direction and experimentations. This is certainly a different sound.
I've fallen in love. It's strange, but it's true. Hey, I can't get over the way you love me like you do. But I have to be sure when I walk out the door. Oh, how I want to be free, baby. Oh, how I want to be free.
I like that.
But life still goes on. I can't get used to living without you by my side. I don't want to live alone. Hey, God knows, got to make it on my own. So baby, can't you see? I've got to break free. I've got to break free. I want to break free. I want to break
It feels a whole lot more modern. There are still certain fingerprints that are unmistakable. I'm hearing strings in here. Probably synthesizer strings is my guess. Kind of a string orchestra, which is clearly not Brian May's guitar. It's interesting that, okay, as they start to experiment with these synthesizer sounds, his guitar orchestras and choruses, at least in this song, have diminished quite a bit. But I loved that solo. I feel like in this song, Brian May is the star. Interestingly, even though he doesn't do so much with the guitar, when the solo steps in, those first 3 notes, it's like the real personality just walked on stage. It's like we were just waiting for somebody to show up, and suddenly he showed up, and he really showed up. It's the confidence and the authority and the boldness that comes through in those notes. The clarity of the articulation and the tonal choice. It's the projection. It's just so good. I guess, yeah, that was my favorite part of the entire piece. Let's go back through and listen a couple places. I'll comment a bit more this time and see what we find. Right. So if I were listening to this and it came on the radio and I were to guess which band it was, I think I'd be a bit lost. I don't think that I would say that's signature Queen. It's not the Queen that I know. So many of the songs by Queen that I've listened to, the first few notes, you suddenly, there's no doubt. But this is such a different sound. I'm thinking even of something in a very different style like Mustafa. It was pretty easy to decide that, yes, I'm really listening to Queen. I'm listening to Freddie's voice, even though it's different and everything there is different. But when the instruments enter, there is no doubt. Here, why is it that I don't feel so solid about it if I were guessing? There are a couple things. First of all, the rhythm, this little rhythmic riff, bum 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 bum, it's It's not the first time they've used a very simple riff. Think of We Will Rock You. But this is a bit more monotonous in its presentation. Although they're not using it to convey monotony. It's more just pulling you into the beat and the pulse. And the beat and the pulse is so in your face with the drums. I mean, it's like they're right here in front of my eyes and kind of blocking my view. That is something that we haven't heard a lot of with Queen. In fact, there have been times when, and I've commented with a couple of Roger Taylor's compositions, that I felt like he did a fabulous job of not letting his drumming get in the way of the music. Same with the bass. When he comes to play, when he writes one of his own pieces, I've commented before about how each one of them has such a good musical sense and composer's humility, let me say, in that they're not letting the fact that they created the piece make them the star of the show. It's all about the music. Always and always. Here, well, it's a different kind of music. It's all about the beat. And so the drums and the bass are, well, mainly the drums, but the bass is just is continuing with that same drone, ostinato. It changes pitch a little bit, a few places, but the other thing that stands out to me in this piece, as I commented the first time, is that there isn't the same sort of harmonic coloration and sweep through the music that I've become so accustomed to. So right off the bat, this is our first clue, more than a clue, that this is going to be very different. But it's kind of nice the way the bass goes bump 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 at the very end. We are just doing and we begin to feel like and then suddenly bump bump bump, and then it shuts off.
I want to break free. I want to break free. I want to break free from your lies. You're so self-satisfied. I don't need you.
Now, I know this is Freddie, so I can hear the Freddie in it. But he's really pushing towards a harder voice here, isn't he? Harder than usual, even in some of the hard pieces he's done up to this point. And so that as well, it's very, can I say metallic sounding? It's very metallic sounding, both in the instrumentation and the voice. There's a hardness to it and a sheen to it that sonically makes me think the best descriptor is metallic. Now, I'm not using that as a genre, but as I'm saying it now, I'm thinking, yeah, perhaps you could even put this in the metal category a bit as well.
Break free from your lies. You're so self-satisfied. I don't need you. I've got to break free. God knows.
The chorus here,
God knows I want.
when we have that little bit of vocal chorus, it also is hard. It has an edge. It has no roundness, no softness, no forgiveness in it. It is simply very hard and bright.
God knows. God knows I want to break free.
And one of the things that I'm always listening for is how do the different musical elements combine to make an engaging and at the same time sense of unity within the music. And what are the musical elements that become the binder for the entire piece? This one, it's a texture thing, believe it or not. Even though I'm saying there's not a lot of texture variation, it's a texture quality to all of this that is happening. Whether it's the drums, or the guitar, or the voice, or the chorus, or even the pacing and the style of starting and stopping. It's very pointy, we could say. Jabbing. There's a kind of aggression to it. It's kind of like somebody is in your face, yelling a bit too loud for the proximity, or perhaps looking at the topic of this song, I Want to Break Free. It is somebody, really pulling at the chains, at the ropes that are binding them where they are, and yanking and kind of feeling the tension of and the strength of what's anchoring them where they are. I want to break free. Think of putting your hands on a rough rope and pulling and realizing it's stuck and you can't break it free. Is that kind of point or yank or abrupt hardness, and as I said, lack of forgiveness. There is no forgiveness in the music. It doesn't give, it doesn't bend. There's no softness. When you reach the end of the rope, that's it. There is nothing more. And it's all through the music. Every time we come to a hard stop, which comes quite often, or the I want to break free, and the way he ends his phrases, he doesn't end them with a bit of polish and tapering off. It's more like we are pushing and then and building momentum, and then suddenly it's cut off in the middle of it. All of that, and then of course, as I said, the drums, which are probably the most obvious thing. Even the bass, the way it's being plucked, has that feeling of a taut rope to it, doesn't it? So that's the texture that I feel is serving as the overall musical binder for this piece. And the thing that makes it hold together, no matter whether we're hearing the voice, the drums, the guitar, any of that.
God knows I want to break free.
Even this, when he's singing God Knows, he's not singing it, well, and here we come to the discussion I've been having in these past several videos on my channel, is how influences from other styles become embraced and reformatted into a new style. If you listen to his voice, you could say he is singing in a blues style in a lot of ways. But blues music has a lot of forgiveness in it. As I've used the term before, it's squishy, bendy. This is not. Even though he's bending the notes, listen to how he's articulating God knows, and the hardness of the consonants, and the way he doesn't bend the rhythm. The rhythm is not forgiving here.
God knows I want to break free. I've fallen in love.
I've fallen in love. You know, it's so interesting to listen to this. Maybe I should use this as an example to some of my students, because in spite of all the hardness here, there is also something else, which is a really powerful, expressive technique. And it actually shows up in the classical era, and I mean classical with a big C, talking about Mozart, Haydn, ending with Beethoven, that era, where it is so crucial to the handling of the phrases. That is the recognition of what we call feminine endings. Now, a feminine ending is when you arrive on a downbeat at the end of a phrase at a cadential point where it kind of comes to rest. Let me just give a quick demo here. So I'm going to keep it simple. We're in the key of C. And let's take something as simple as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Okay, there, where we might catch a breath, is the end of a phrase. It's not the end of a sentence, but it's the end of a musical phrase. I'm even giving a classical accompaniment below here. And what if we were to add a little bit of dissonance to that ending? Listen to this. And we leaned into this before we arrived here. In order to have that work, you have to really lean into this and back off of this. And in classical with a big C music, it typically creates a feeling of elegance. Now, there's a similar thing, which we find in Baroque music a lot, where we also arrive on a strong dissonance and then it releases into a consonance. We call that the appoggiatura. Regardless the exact context and name, I'm talking about what's happening here when Freddie sings these words.
I've fallen in love.
I've fallen in love. Notice how strong he is. Fallen. That is the emphasis. In love. So rather than saying, I've fallen in love, with love, we kind of lean strongly and then back away. I've fallen in love. I wouldn't call this a feminine ending. It could be called an appoggiatura in a sense, although typically I won't get into all the technicalities, but my point is there's this lean and then very strong backing off. What strikes me is that he's doing it so pointily, to return to my chosen word of the day, pointy. It doesn't give a feeling of graciousness and elegance and gentleness to it. It doesn't give a feeling of strength, clash, and then a release. Instead, it continues with this sort of jabbing, slashing, pointing. I've fallen in love. It's almost like a blade being pointed and then flipped a little bit elsewhere, isn't it?
Break free. I've fallen in love. I've fallen in love for the first
Notice also how static the harmonic outline is. It's mostly dum dee dim bim bum dee dim dim dum dee dim bim bum dee dim bim. Every once in a while it shifts down to the 5 or the 4. Dum dee dim bim.
In love for the first time, this time I know it's for real. I'm falling in love. God knows I'm falling in love. It's strange, but it's true. Hey,
This is the part that is most recognizably Queen, right? The guitar coming in and a little bit more sweep and pull, ebb and flow. They don't let it get out of hand though. They keep it reined in and tightly controlled so that it doesn't throw the entire piece out of balance.
strange, but it's true. Hey, I can't get over the way you love me like you do. But I
Listen to the
have be
hardness in
sure
his voice.
when I walk out the door. Oh, I want to be free, baby. Oh, how I want to be free. Oh, how I want to break free.
And instead of the guitar chorus swelling as we might expect, we suddenly realize, oh, there's a string orchestra sweeping in there, and that's what brings us up to the peak. Actually, it's very effective, and here's why. Because it makes the guitar solo entrance all the more arresting and powerful.
Oh, how I want to be free. Oh, how I want to break free.
Now, why is it that this entrance grabs me more than this entrance?
I want to break free.
It has several things involved. Partly it's because we've been set up with this grand, sweeping, string-backed climax, right? And we just had the biggest taste of Queen passion and passionate drama that we are going to find in this piece. The sweep and the grandiosity. We've just gotten as much of that as we'll get. And so then it suddenly is cut off, and we're taken into this pointed, strong guitar presence. And the contrast is so compelling. At the beginning, we just had din, 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 the intro, and then Freddie's voice enters. So there wasn't the same sort of contrast to really, really put it so strongly in front of us. Secondly, this guitar tone is cleaner and more focused than when Freddie enters. When Freddie enters, his voice is a bit rougher and looser. This guitar, the strength of it is that it has absolute tonal focus. And it's like a trumpet call, stepping up and saying, okay, everybody else is out of the way. I am the one who is in charge here, and I don't even need to tell you that. It's just obvious because I've got the one with the lungs, so to speak. And isn't he playing it like a brass instrument? That edge and, I'm going to return to the term metallic quality of the tone it has a sheen, a brightness, and a strength, and a focus, a point to the sound, and the articulation as well. It's as if it's the same sort of articulation you might hear with a brass instrument, you know, the stops and the clarity. It's really fabulous. And the way he colors that. And that at the end is just, he could have left it da 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 da, and we would have been fine. But instead, he took us even further, da, and basically just set us all the way down in the basement unexpectedly. And now the strings. And here we get a little bit of the Freddie flexibility, right? Living without you. And the strings in the background give a very clean palette on which to serve that bit of flair and flourish.
I can't get used to living without you by my side. I don't want to live alone.
Now it's hard again.
Hey, God knows.
And here, God knows, and then the guitar comes in with a ding, 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 ding. Again, the metallic string quality, ding, 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 ding. You know, harps have been strung with all different manner of material through the years, and the classic modern harp is primarily strung with gut string. There's metal in the bass because that's stronger and gives more of the meaty sound. But there is such a thing as a steel strung harp, and it's usually a more folk style instrument. But it's such a different sound up here. Doesn't sound like this. It has a twang. Ding, 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 ding. It's special in its own way. But here, this guitar plucking ding, 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 ding is very metallic string sounding. Well, I guess they are metal strings, right? So that's no surprise. But they managed to make them sound so many different ways, depending on how they want it to be. But this gives the metallic quality.
Want to live alone. Hey, God knows.
Ding, 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 ding.
So baby, can't you see? I've got to break free. I've got to
And-
break free.
And just as we're beginning to feel that there's a little bit of a swell happening, it almost gives the feeling of an organ swell, you know, where the baffles open and the sound comes pouring out more. It has that sort of feeling, even though it's not organ sound.
So baby,
Just as we get to feel like, we're going to get into a bit more of that again, no, it cuts off, and we are brought right back to the same abrupt stop and the sonic quality that brings it to a close.
can't you see? I've got to break free. I've got to break free. I want to break.
Squeaky string at the top. A bit of play a game with me for a minute. Let's listen to this closing of the song and try to imagine it without the percussion. Okay? Even without the strumming bass. Were you able to block out the percussion and imagine it without? It would be a completely different feeling, wouldn't it? The percussion is the driving element of this entire piece. And I guess it's the most drum-fronted piece of music that I recall hearing in this whole Queen project to date. It's so interesting hearing them do something like this. I wonder, well, again, it's an example of how versatile they can be and their ability to put out any style they choose and do it compellingly well. I feel like a lot of the Queen fans, I like the older Queen style. I've gotten very attached to it. And this is not the sort of piece that I would just sit down and say, I'm in the mood to listen to this. It's not my style of music. But at the same time, it's a lot of fun to see how capably they handle it. And, well, there's some more Queen for you. And so Queen has done it again, of course. Why should I expect anything different at this point? They have taken a different style, gone a different direction, and done it extremely well. Whether or not we like the style, they've done it incredibly well. And, I mean, throwing in the unexpected, the guitar solo, still for me, is the golden moment. It's the star. It rules. It's the reigning monarch of the piece. It's so interesting to me that even though the musical material that he uses is the same as what Freddie sings, I want to break free, bum 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 bum. Somehow when the guitar comes in, it takes it to an entirely different level. And just imagine this piece without that solo. I think I would have found it kind of dull. But to put that solo in here, why would I listen to this piece? I would listen to it especially to listen to that solo. As I said, I like it. I like that solo. There's something about it that just, it's so powerful and incredibly expressive, even within those few notes that he handles. And it's fabulous. So it's another Queen, just like that. And well, I think I'm going to watch the video on the Patreon live gathering. So if you want to watch that, you can join the Patreon crowd and come listen on a weekend with us, and we'll catch it all together there and see what I think of the video. I'll see you all soon.